The relationship between time and power uh, is defined by work. So power is a measure of how much work you can get per unit time. That's the physics definition, and uh, it kind of makes sense. And power is one of those things that um, we kind of all think we know what it means. We don't really know what it means. Uh, is the rich politician that's making everyone do everything powerful? In a way, yes, and in a way, no, because yes, in that that politician can pass policies and then have minions do the work for him, and that saves him a lot of time, so the work is getting done. He's powerful in that sense. Um, but then, whose work is he doing? Is he doing his own work? I mean, well, no. Is he getting work done for himself? Is he implementing his own agenda? And I think, in some cases, yes. I think Gavin Newsom is powerful in that way, that he is getting what he wants done. Um, Donald Trump, I don't know. I actually don't know that he's doing work for himself. Um, he's clearly, doing some things for himself, uh, obviously. But in the grand scheme of things, in the great global machinations, is he doing work for himself? Is he doing work for someone else? Someone else? Is there someone with more power who is using him to get their work done? Right. Meanwhile, you've got us. And my guess is, if you're watching this, you're us, right? I'm just going to assume that, because Donald Trump doesn't want to hear what I got to say, nor does Gavin Newsom. So we need to work, or we need to find a way to get money to work for us, and that's if you're a business owner, you've started that hack. If you've got employees, you've started that hack of figuring out how to get other people to do work for you so that you can make money. I mean, like the best thing, the best day on earth for a business owner is the day that he can go home and the business is still making him money, right? That's the first really great day. I mean, turning a profit is good too. Like not being negative is good, but being able to go home and have stuff taken care of, that's for his time just went through the roof. He's got more time now, and he's got all that time. He can be doing something else than he wants to do, or something else that makes him money. Start another business. I don't know. But power is work per unit time, and one of the reasons it feels like you have no time is because you got a lot of work to do to get the little bit of power you need in your life, the ability to buy groceries instead of grow them yourself, right? That's power. When you buy groceries, when you can take this slip of paper, hopefully it's cloth or cotton, hopefully it's not plastic, but if you can take your cash in and redeem it for food that you didn't have to grow, that's power. That's an exercise of power, I should say. The trick is to get more power in your life. There's not actually power isn't negative, but it can be abused, and honestly, there can be people with too much power. If you're talking about voluntary interactions, you're providing something of value for someone, and they're paying you for it. No one's been hurt in the process. You go and buy groceries. I consider that an ethical use of power. There are other uses of power that are less ethical. You know, if you really want to expand the borders of your country, for example, um, well, a great way to do that is to hire a bunch of people, mercenaries. If it makes everyone feel better, you can call them soldiers, and you can, uh, you know, enter into contracts with arms manufacturers, and um, for optics purposes, we'll call them business owners, and they'll make bombs for you. Bombs are preferable because it's more destructive, and you can throw them at a distance. You don't lose out on soldiers. It's hard to recruit soldiers when the soldiers keep dying, so it's best to do it at range. And you can just flatten the whole country so that your borders can increase, and then you've got dominion over more land, and that's certainly one way to exercise your power. I don't think that's an ethical use of power. Um, so power in itself isn't bad, but it can certainly be used for bad things. You could, for example, tell all of your minions that those are law enforcers. You can get your law enforcers to tell everyone they're not allowed to go outside, or if they are outside, they better be walking a dog, because if you're not walking the dog, you've got no reason to be outside. Get inside and watch your screens. If you want to do that, you can do that. You can use any excuse. You could say that there's a nasty germ out there that no one can see, and that people are dying in droves. You could just tell the people that, oh, the press will be happy to parrot anything you tell them, so just tell them whatever you want to tell them. You could also tell everyone, you know, these enforcers of yours, you could tell them to arrest, take down personal information of anyone entering the woods. Those are the crown's woods. You're not allowed to enter the king's wood. You're not allowed, because there could be a fire if you step foot in the woods, and we don't want that. Any excuse will do, really. You could say that, you know, oh, you're I'm sorry, guys, you can't have cars anymore because your tailpipe emissions have destroyed everything, and so you nasty pleb need to sit at home. Never mind that I'm going to go fly my jet all over the world, nagging you to get rid of your cars. You know, you could blame, you know what? You are such a piece of shit. You have been flying from point A to point B using these nasty airplanes. Yeah, I know I added some crap to the fuel to make it nastier in the sky, so that everyone can see the nasty effects of what airplanes are doing. You know, I know I put that stuff in the fuel. I know I added it to the fuel, and it's kind of blocking out the sun, kind of greenhousing us a little bit, to be quite honest. Like, yeah, it blocks them through, but then it traps it, and the radiation bounces back and forth, and it actually makes the world a little warmer in areas that have lots of these things. It's kind of interesting. Anyway, yeah, I do that, but, you know, it's for the greater good, you know, because I'm getting what I want done, or at least what they tell me I want. I'm getting that done for them. Power. Am I a crazy conspiracy theorist? Am I just nuts? Am I just saying things that, you know, could never come to pass? You know, was it silly? Never mind. If you're still here, you haven't turned me off, you're one of us. I don't use us very flippantly. I actually think it's an act of violence to speak for other people. So I'm careful when I use us and we, because I don't want to include you in something that you don't agree with. So if you're still here, my guess is you've been here long enough to maybe allow me to use the word we. We got a problem. We are living in a society that full of people who don't understand anything about power, and people who don't have any power themselves, or perceive that they don't have any power themselves, and so they just want to keep their head down and not say anything, not rock a boat, not not make waves. The social pressure is amazing, and the social pressure is also applied to your source of power, your income, right? Because if your employer doesn't like your activities, they might decide to unemploy you, right? Um, and again, with power, they can give any excuse they want to let you go. They don't have to tell you it's because, you know, you disagreed with them on a, I don't know, something you wrote on Facebook. So, like, we need more people figuring out how humped we've been and actively holding the people who wield power against us in contempt. We can't get anywhere. There is no revolution, peaceful, you know, a peaceful, non-compliant revolution. We can't do that. We can't have a violent revolution either if we wanted to do that. I don't really want to do that, but we can't if the blob of humanity is just keeping their head down and accepting one more thing, boiling in the water, right? We can't have our power. And when I say our, again, we and our, I'm careful with that. Our power, people power, the power of groups. We can't exercise it effectively if we're not on the same page, and really if we're not on the same page, if we don't understand the problem for what it is and have, you know, the peaceful solutions in mind. Now, everyone wants to know what the solutions are. Oh, what's the solutions? But give me a solution. Right now, the most effective thing that we can be doing to help our fellow humans through this education is to talk to people, get our voices out there. I love bumper stickers. I think they're great ways of disseminating information. I love billboards, but they're more expensive. I like T-shirts. T-shirts are weird because you gotta be in the mindset to talk about your T-shirt, so they're a little different, right? We need people thinking about the structures around us, right? You know, and I hesitate to talk about the power struggle. I think a lot of people who talk about the power struggle simply want to take the reins of power that other people have been using against them and control them themselves. They want to take the same tools and leverage them to their own desires. I think that's really dangerous. I think the power struggle people are really freaking scary, quite honestly, because I think they think they've figured everything out and they want to impose their solutions on other people. I'm not about imposing solutions on other people, but we can't have a world where that isn't the case, where we can't have a world that is voluntary in the aggregate if we have a culture of threat and compliance. That's, I mean, that can be peaceful, but it's very violent at the same time, right? Step out of line, find out how violent it is. That's what we've got right now. And when I say out of line, I don't mean go hurt someone. I mean do something that someone says you're not allowed to do that isn't hurting anyone, and see how you get treated. Now, you're going to have a range. Some people are going to say, yeah, get him. Other people are going to say, he wasn't doing anything. What's the problem? And we need to change the ratios of, yeah, let's get him, and let him be, to be opposite of what we've got. There are some things, yes, people need to be stopped from doing. And that would be anyone's job to stop them from doing it. There aren't special classes of people who can say, hey, stop hurting me, or hey, stop hurting him. That's not a special class of person. In our society, we've gotten used to dial a cop. Okay, we're going to dial a cop, and he's going to stop the person because he's got the right to tell the person to stop hurting that other person. I'm not going to get involved myself. I'll just call this guy, and he'll take care of it for me. I got a guy. That feels like power. And honestly, it looks like power. Look, there's a problem over here. I can call up my phone, and this other guy over here will take care of that problem for me. The problem is that you're trying to wield power without responsibility. And that's really freaking hazardous, because you call the cops on this guy. You got an autistic kid in Idaho. He's flailing about. His mom's pulling on his t-shirt, trying to get him to come inside and behave. She calls the cops for help because this poor kid grew up. He's still alive, and he's bigger than her now. And she's calling desperately for help. She calls 911, tells the dispatcher, my autistic son is out of control. I can't control my autistic son. Please come help me. She's trying to exercise her power, calling 911 to help her with a problem that she can't handle on her own. So the cops show up, and they point guns at the kid. He's got a little box cutter. She's there pulling on his shirt, trying to get him away from the cops. There is a chain link fence between this kid and the cops. They're standing back, guns drawn, on this autistic kid. She told the dispatcher he was autistic. I don't know if the cops got the message, but they fucking shoot the kid. Who's responsible? I think the cops are responsible for their actions. They pulled the trigger. And I'll bet you that mom is so sorry she dialed a cop. And, in case I wanted more subscribers, she's probably really, really sorry that she said yes, doctor, many years ago to the it's time for your stuff conversation, right? We need to be having real conversations with people about the stuff that matters in this world. We don't get to outsource our power without consequences. We just don't. We don't get to freedom and peace through submission. I mean, honestly, peace is a strange goal. It sounds really good, and honestly, Everyone wants, no, not everyone. A lot of people want just to be left in peace, not to be hassled, not to be pestered by other people. And yes, I want that too. I'm not sure that we're all using the same definition when we say peace. You know, I don't want to recommend this rabbit hole, but I've gone down the rabbit hole of watching interactions with police officers and people. And there are so many videos out there where the cops are clearly the problem. And there are inevitably comments down the comment section of these brainwashed idiots saying, well, if you had just complied, it would have gone fine. They have a point, but they're missing the point, which is that having a class of people running around who are blessed with society with the right to inflict harm upon other people is a shitty paradigm. It's not actually peace. You know, I've heard it said that one of the most peaceful places you can be is in a prison cell. You know, I mean, let's assume it's not a max security or you know, general population kind of thing where, you know, you're gonna get shanked any moment. But like, you get all your meals taken care of, you know the rules, you've got a roof over your head guaranteed, you know, you've got all this stuff provided for you, and you've got all this time alone to think about things. Very peaceful in one sense of the word peace, right? That's the same sense of peace you get by complying with bullshit and tyranny, right? It's the same kind of peace. And I don't think that's the kind of peace that people want. And the language game around peace, which I think most people mean not war, or I don't want to fight right now, I want peace, right? Peace defined as not war. I think most people can get down with that, right? But the peace that comes from obedience, compliance, laying down, taking it, turning the other cheek, that kind of peace is not sustainable for the human soul. And we have to not do that. That's not peace. That's compliance with no end of increased asks in the future. That's selling your children down the road. Don't sell your children down the road. This is long enough. This is actually a pretty long video for me. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to talk with other real live human beings about the tyrannical air we're breathing and not noticing and accepting. And that's it. Like, until enough people can make that little step to say, hey, you know, this is actually pretty violent, you know, like this whole, like, you know, being pulled over by a man with a gun because I rolled a stop sign. This is kind of over the top. And until we can get people even acknowledging that, there's nothing more to be done. There are no solutions, but for education, but for thinking about this stuff critically, but for expanding the conversation to your other fellow human beings. If you can't do that, you're not doing anything. Maybe you're a policymaker in your town and you can implement your vision and get it imposed on people, right? No, not right. We need to talk to people. We need to talk to people. And we need to have tricky conversations with people. We need to be disciplined ourselves and not go overboard, and move with people slowly. This is a slow process. Education, it's only fast with trauma. With something that's like, boom, this is in your face and you got to deal with it. Like awakening can be fast that way through trauma. I think that's why there are a lot of formerly traumatized guru types out there that actually seem to have figured it all out. Alcoholics come to mind, abuse survivors. Teal Swan comes to mind. Like, there are people who have figured it out more quickly than other people through trauma. Right? I'm coming to this late because I didn't have the trauma, right? So people who have been traumatized have figured this out, some of them a long time ago. You look online and, I've been at this for about 10 years and I'll see someone's post from 20 years ago, like, damn, you were there then. And you look at older stuff, dare to delve into the research that the sovereign citizen people have done, because they've uncovered some very interesting things about how our legal structures have changed over time. That's really worth listening to. Their tactics aren't effective, but their analysis of what's happened over time is very interesting and should be looked at. But that's other stuff. Right now, we just need people to go, hey, that hurts, stop it. Because right now everyone's going, hey, that's getting a little warm in here. It's getting a little warm in here. I'm kind of uncomfortable, but everyone else is in this pot. I'll just hang out in this pot with everyone else because there's safety in numbers. It's not the way. We got to get to, hey, something about this seems off, and the power of noticing aloud that something here is off, that something about this system isn't right. That's a seed. We need seed planters. That we're not ready to reap the harvest. As painful as that is, we're not ready for harvest reaping at all. We haven't done our work planting the seeds. We haven't done our work showing people the problem accurately and non-threateningly. Most people, if you give them the whole fire hose, they'll fall over and spit out the water they did get, right? You can't dump a fire hose in someone's face. It doesn't work. It's overload. That's why education is a slow process. You don't sit your 8th grader down and say, okay, kid, we're doing differential equations today, and this afternoon we're going to get on to linear algebra. We don't do that to people we're trying to teach and bring up and build. Don't do it to other people on the internet. Some people are ready to hear that. Most aren't. Really, most aren't. We need to plant the, is this system working? How does this system work? That's a good one. How does this system work? Oh, you mean if the government threatens everyone with fine and imprisonment, they'll all behave according to what the government wants. That's how the system works, right? We can't even get there. Oh, well, it's not violence. You need law and order and order. You will get all kinds of apologetics for the violence of the state by going too fast. That's why I like bumper stickers. That's why I like billboards. That's why I like T-shirts, because it can plant a seed without having a comment section to be the receptacle for all of the defensiveness and excuses and apologetics. Because when you got that comment section, people don't think, they respond. They don't like the message, it made them feel bad, they come up with refutation, they put it in the comments section. They stop thinking. The comments section is where I'm kind of realizing this in real time. This aspect of the comments section. I'm realizing this right now. Just how damaging the comment section can be to the conversation, because it's not allowing people time to think. They're just responding with their take, their hot take. I like the comments section. I like arguing with people. I think it's fun. I think poking holes in people's thought processes is a hoot. But there's this other part of it. We need to be planting seeds. That's the job. That's the mission. Should you choose to accept it, I'm not going to make you do it. I can't make you do it. Do I wish I could make you do it? No, but I wish you would. All right, so have a good one. Plant seeds. Hey guys, this water's getting kind of warm here in this pot on the stove. You think maybe we should do something about that? Maybe. Have a good one.